But suddenly, a magic circle appeared and sealed Luke and some people inside a barrier. Luke and the other people were confused and wondered why they got trapped in there. Then, the same girl from before appeared and tells Luke that she prepared this barrier especially for him. Luke gets scared and tried to run away from her. He was hitting the barrier and begged Redbud Knights to save him. But the girl said that it's no use because not even a saint rank can break through her barrier. Henry was also there, who shouted that the sword master of Elgin will crush her like an ant. But Luke removed his mask and revealed that he is the successor to the Offer family, not the sword master, and this was all a ruse by the queen. Everyone was shocked to know that the sword master is an imposter. Luke added that he is innocent and this is all a misunderstanding. Angered, the girl said that she went through a lot of effort to prepare the barrier, so now he has to pay the price. Luke was begging her to forgive him, and in return, he will pay her anything. But the girl used her magic and killed Luke. The crowd noticed her magic and realized that the girl is a member of the Dark Guild. She thought that the sword master is hiding nearby, so she decides to kill everyone to lure him out. Henry took a battle stance and said that if she wants to kill the sword master, then she has to deal with him first. The other kids were telling Henry to run, but he said that he will not back down. And as the girl was about to kill Henry, Merlin arrived on time and saved him. He kicked the woman away and tells Henry it's fine to be courageous, but one need to know your limits. Merlin then took his mask and put it on him. At the same time, Macefield was trying her best to break the barrier, but even her strongest attack was not working against it. Merlin came here to check how strong Luke was, but gets disappointed as he was fake. Henry shouted and tells everyone that the real swordmaster has come to save them. He was happy to know that Uncle Merlin is the Elgin's master swordsman. Unaware that Henry now knows his identity, Merlin thought it's good that Henry didn't recognize him. The girl attacked Merlin, but Merlin said it's pathetic. But suddenly, he heard people shouting because the flames were attacking them. The girl explained that it's her forbidden magic, and her flames will burn away everything. She laughed and said that he failed as the protector of the Empire. She added that even he can't break her barrier, so he will die for certain. Annoyed, Merlin took out his sword and killed the girl along with the barrier in a single strike. Merlin felt good, as even though Luke was an imposter, he still gained something from this trip, as his curse alleviated a little. Suddenly, 3 Redbud Knights attack him together, but Merlin defeated them with just the wind pressure of his swing. Macefield looked at the dead girl and Luke and understood everything. But still, she dashed toward Merlin, as her real goal was to capture him. She attacked Merlin with her full power, but he stopped her sword with just 2 fingers and broke it. And with just a little flick, he sent her flying and she smashed into the wall. The crowd realized that Merlin really is the real sword master because he easily defeated the 4 Redbud Knights. But suddenly, Merlin noticed a man casting magic and realized that it was spatial magic. Gregory came forward and said to break a saint rank barrier so easily and defeat 4 saint rank beings means that he really is the real swordmaster. Gregory revealed that his orders were to kill him on the spot, but still he offered Merlin to join his guild. He said that if he joins, then the Empire will no longer pursue him, and he will also have the access to the best training resources. He added now that Merlin saw his black hole magic, so no matter how strong he is. But before he could even finish, Merlin refused to join his guild and said he is not interested in him or his black hole magic. Gregory then decides to teach Merlin a lesson and make a bet with him. He draw a line from his stick and said if Merlin can cross the line in 3 chances, then he will let him go. But in case he fails, then he will have to join his guild. Merlin liked the old man guts and accepted his challenge. Everyone was worried, thinking who will win between the strongest magician and the strongest swordsman. Merlin announced that the old man is the one who asked for a beating, so they can't blame him for hitting an old man. Gregory laughed and said that there is nothing that his black hole magic. Before he could finish, Merlin dashed towards him and crossed the line in a single attempt. He said that he could have spared him, but since Gregory insisted, he has no other choice. Gregory gets scared after seeing Merlin's killing intent and realized that this young man is extraordinary. His years of experience was telling him that if he doesn't use his full strength to defend, then he will die for sure. He tried to stop Merlin from coming any closer, but to his surprise, Merlin easily broke his black holes and was about to kill him. But suddenly, he remembered Alice's words that this old man saved her life, so he just used his back of the sword and sent him flying. He thought that the old man is the saint rank, so he will be fine. Everyone in the crowd were cheering for the sword master, so Merlin decides to leave. A few days later, Merlin reached home, and Alice was scolding him for disappearing for 10 days. He thought that even though that fatty was an imposter, he still can't tell her that he attempted to kill the Elgin's master swordsman again. Merlin then said that he just went to earn a little extra cash to pay back his debts. He also added that since he's a man, so sometimes he liked to fool around a little. Angered, Alice scolded him and called him a pervert, thinking he was with some woman. At the same time, in the palace, the 7th Redbud Knight, Catherine, informed Elizabeth that the Offer family is mobilizing their military. Elizabeth ordered her to send word to all the lords that they are to gather in the palace in 3 days. She also added, summon those 4 useless trash, as she wants to see them. After a while, the 4 knights were kneeling in front of their queen. She calls them useless and orders Catherine to arrest all 4 of them. Macefield was shocked by her decision, but before she could even react, Catherine used her magic to stop their movements. The other knights apologized and requested for another chance, and Macefield asked Catherine for the reason. Catherine said, because they didn't protect the Offer child properly, so Lord Offer wants them as compensation. Macefield requested Elizabeth to leave the other knights and punish her for all the failures. But the queen replied that as the first knight, she brought shame upon the empire, so she doesn't have any rights to make demands. She then ordered Catherine to lock them with anti-magic stones and send word to Lord Offer that they apprehended the knights responsible for Luke's death. At the same time, the queen's daughter Michelle saw this and addressed Macefield as Sister Windsor. Then the next day, she snuck into her mother's room, and it's been 4 years since she last entered this room. She wrote a letter and sealed it with the royal seal. She was waiting for her mother to arrive, thinking, how can she save her sister Windsor? She then noticed a pocket watch shining. She picked it up and wondered how is it broken, because this watch was given to her mother by her grandfather. But when she looked at the back of the watch, she gets shocked, as instead of Elizabeth, it said Isabella. Suddenly, the door of the room opened, so she quickly put the watch back. Elizabeth came inside and asked her what is she doing in her chamber. Michelle bowed in front of her mother and asked her to release Sister Windsor, but Elizabeth refused. She said that they have dragged the imperial family's name through the mud, so death is the appropriate punishment for them. Scared, Michelle said okay and left. As she was going back to her room, she thought why Aunt Isabella's name was on the pocket watch. She muttered that anyone who receives the pocket watch in the royal family stops working after death and is buried with its owner, and Isabella is already dead. She then realized that the queen is not her mother but her Aunt Isabella. At the same time, Queen ordered Catherine to keep an eye on Michelle. At night, in Offer family castle, an official was reading the letter sent by the queen. That says that his son's culprits has been arrested. But Duke Offer was angry and said that he will have her pay for his son's death with the entire imperial family. His subordinate said that their military is ready to move out, and the 9 saints-ranked professionals are also awaiting his orders to attack the capital. But Duke replied that they can't attack the capital because it's been protected by the lake spirit. He said 20 years ago, he had been appointed Duke, so he followed the previous ruler to the underground lake and saw the magical creature. He was worried because he knows that the spirit is not a being that humans can defeat with mere numbers. But his subordinate tells him to not worry and said that they still have the 4 sword saints as their trump card. And with those 4, there are few that can stand against them. He added that due to the imposter sword master, the people don't trust the imperial family anymore, so it's the perfect time to strike. Duke agreed and said after they give Luke a proper burial, they will make their move on the capital. At the same time, in the capital's prison, Macefield was thinking about the queen, and how did she become like this? Before, she was so warm-hearted and kind. She always believed that she would become a perfect ruler to lead them. And as she was in her deep thought, someone came and calls her name. It was Michelle, who tells Macefield that the current queen is not the real one. Macefield remembered that Isabella died 4 years ago, and it was around that time that Elizabeth underwent a huge change to her personality. She muttered, then the one who died then. Before she could finish, Michelle stopped her and said she believed that her mother is alive and is hidden somewhere. She then gave the anti-handcuffs and explosion rune stones to Macefield. This shocked Macefield, and she asked what exactly is she planning to do. Michelle replied she has already contacted the Duke of Wales and he has agreed to help her. so she will save her mother. And while leaving, she tells Macefield to save the real Elizabeth, in case she failed to do it herself. The next day, outside the Austen family mansion, Merlin and Hobbs were with Arnold. Hobbs tells him to make a name for himself, as he's going to the war on Queen's order. Arnold was crying to meet Alice for the last time, and Merlin told him that she left for the guild early in the morning. Suddenly, Alice came running and shouted she finally found him. Arnold thought that Alice came to meet him for the last time, but as always, Alice ignored him and asked Merlin to go with her. She informed him that there are a lot of important guests waiting for him at home. Merlin reached home and Cecilia welcomed him. Merlin realized that the important guest is her, but Cecilia replied that the one who wanted to see him is this girl. Michelle then introduced herself and said she is the first princess of the empire. Cecilia pointed at Merlin and said this is the extremely strong adventurer she was talking about. Michelle tells them that their mission is to protect her, and she asked them about their levels. Alice said she is a mithril ranked adventurer, but as soon as Michelle found out that Merlin is a black iron ranked, she lost interest in him. But as Cecilia vouched for Merlin and Alice, the princess explained everything to them. Alice was shocked to know that the current queen is an imposter. Merlin was not interested in this mission, as political struggle sounds so troublesome. But Michelle tells him to shut up and said she needs Miss Alice's help, not his, and she's willing to pay 700,000 gold for the service. Merlin replied that she can't convince him with money and he would not be involved in political struggles. But Alice tells him to shut up, as it's 700,000 gold she's offering. Merlin was still not interested, but when Alice angrily asked him who gambles all her savings, Merlin quickly agreed to help. Cecilia and Alice both said that with Merlin on their side, there's nothing to worry about. The next day, Michelle was so confused because Cecilia and Kyle were treating Merlin like a king. She shouted at them and said the one they should be treating well is not the iron rank adventurer but Lady Alice. She apologized to Alice and asked why did she marry to a trash. But Alice tells her to not worry, as even though Merlin looks like that, he's still very reliable. Merlin then taunts Michelle and asked if she really have 700,000 gold coins. Cecilia calmed them down and assured Merlin that he will get paid for the mission. Michelle angrily said if it weren't for Ms. Alice, she wouldn't even bring him along, as a black iron rank adventurer won't be of any use. Merlin smiled and said if that's the case, then he won't help her if a problem were to arise. A few days later, they reached the front courtyard of the Imperial Palace. Cecilia asked Commander Myron about her father. Myron replied that the Duke is already with Her Majesty at the palace, and he has been assigned to keep her safe. Michelle then introduced Alice and the iron-ranked adventurer Merlin. Myron insulted Merlin and said there's no need to inflate their numbers with a small fry. Angered, Merlin replied he may be a small fry, but at least he's stronger than some mustached weakling like him. This angered Commander Myron, and he challenged Merlin to a duel. And as he pointed his finger toward Merlin, he grabbed and bent it. Kyle tried to handle the situation, but Myron announced that he will teach him a lesson for insulting a knight commander. Alice whispered to Merlin that they are on the same side, so he can't kill him. Then Myron attacked Merlin with his full power, but gets knocked down with a single slap. Cecilia apologized to Merlin on behalf of her family knights, and Alice tells her to not worry about it. Michelle saw that Merlin defeated a saint-rank commander with just one slap and realized that Merlin really is as powerful as Cecilia claimed. Myron woke up and accused Merlin of cheating, because there's no way an iron-ranked adventurer could be this strong. Merlin laughed and said if he has any doubts, then they can go again. But Michelle interrupted and apologized to Merlin for her earlier rudeness. She asked him to continue protecting her along with Alice. Merlin agreed to help, as Alice has accepted the request. Michelle then tells Cecilia now that Merlin agreed to help, then she will be safe, so she and Kyle can go back to the night barracks outside the city. Cecilia was hesitant at first, but Michelle explained that if something were to happen, she will still be able to reinforce them in time, so Cecilia agreed to go. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe,